This is Adobe Illustrator Classroom in a Book. We're working on Chapter 10. I'm going to try and go through this rather quickly. I've been having some computer issues and things did not record as they were supposed to. I've had my computer lock up on me. It's not been fun, but I do want to get this lesson up and posted for you. We're going to start working with brushes. I think we've done a little bit of brushes before, but we're going to get more in depth on this than what we've done. You can open up and take a look at the cruise poster that you're going to be creating. There's a nice photo of it or an image of it on page 302, and you also can see what the folder looks or file looks like that we're starting with. Now, I want you to go in and need to open your L1 start or lesson 10 start file and make sure that you've saved this as cruise poster with your initials after it and save. Yes, I'm going to be placing the one that I've already done. Okay, now reset your essentials because that way you know that everything is going to look like it's supposed to out of the box here. And we're going to begin working with some brushes. There are several art brushes. There is an art brush, a calligraphic brush, a bristle brush, a pattern brush, and a scatter brush. And all of these are used to work with the lines that you draw. You can draw with a paintbrush. You can also apply a brush to a line that's already been drawn. So what we're starting out with is the calligraphic brushes. So I'm going to open up my brush panel and I'm going to get the menu and I want to show now my calligraphic brushes and make sure that the rest of the brush types are turned off. So I have my calligraphic brush. And we want to be, rather than thumbnail view, go to list view so that you can actually see the names of the brushes rather than looking at what they look like. It's easier for this lesson to find what we're wanting. Now that we have our art brushes showing and we have the our calligraphic brushes showing, we are going to shift click. So click and shift click to select those two fuchsia purpley lines that are drawn. That looks like a railing right now, but we're going to turn that into the top part of the ship. So these are selected. We want to select the 5-point or the 5-point flat brush, which is this one. And we're also going to change the color of the brush to white. So go in and make that purple brush white. And change our stroke weight, which was at a default 1 point, bring that up to a 6-point flat brush. There we go. Now, you can click off to the side now. And next you're going to select the path that's on the right-hand side, because notice the color of the ship is darker because this is the bright side towards us, this is the shadow side that's away from us. And so we're going to go next and change that stroke color to a 10% grayscale, just to make it a little bit grayer so that it looks like it's on the other side of the boat. Now you can deselect and make sure you save. That way you've got a point to go back to if something messes up. As we said before, the paintbrush tool allows you to apply a brush as you paint. Painting with the tool creates vector paths, just like drawing with your pen, and they can be edited with the paintbrush tool or with other drawing tools. So now we're going to paint waves in the water with the calligraphic brush from using the default brush library. Now the waves don't need to look exactly like the ones that I've done before, look very different. With the selection tool, select the dark blue water shape. Now click off to deselect. That's a sub-layer under the ship. So if we go into our layer panel, you'll see that you are now working on the water layer. So we want all the waves to be on that same sublayer. So now you're going to go pick up your paint tool and go back to your brushes. We're going to open up the brush library and we want to select Artistic Brushes, the Artistic Calligraphic brush. There are a bunch of brush libraries that we have that we can pick from, and next what we're going to do is change this again to the list view so that you can pick up the brush that you really want to use. We are going to pick up the 50-point flat brush. You may need to scroll down to get it. Once you select it, that brush appears up here in your brushes panel. And so we can close the calligraphic brush panel that was open. Now, we want to make sure that our fill color up top here is none because we picked up the color of the wave or the water. And we're going to work with the dark blue color. So select that. And if your stroke weight isn't 1 point, change it to 1 point. Now if we position the pointer off on the left side of the artboard just below the ship, we're going to paint a long curving path that runs along the bottom of the ship. Okay? So we bring it along here and stop right about here. So we've got the 50 flat brush selected, and we want to make sure again that the stroke weight is 1 point. Now if we position the pointer off to the left side of the artboard just below the ship, paint a long curving path starting from left to right and stop about halfway across the water. Create about 3 more paths, painting from left to right, going all the way across the water. You can even draw behind the boat. That'll be fine, because we're on that separate layer that's behind the boat. Now we're going to use the paintbrush tool to edit a selected path. With your selection tool, click to select that first path that you drew that didn't go all the way across. Now, you can pick up your paintbrush tool again and start near the end of the path. Notice that because the paintbrush tool gets over or close to that path, that asterisk goes away. That means we're going to add to a selected path, and so we can just draw across and make it longer. If you hold down your command key, you can click and you can select another path, and all we have to do is pick up where we were, and we can edit a path. So if you try doing that, you can take a path that you drew and you can change and alter it so that it's not the same. Hold down your command or control key, and you can just pick up and redraw that line, which is kind of fun, and it gives you more options. Oops, I didn't want to draw that, so I can delete that. How about if I pick this one up, go back to my paint tool, and I can draw it like that. So you have that option to keep changing what you've already drawn. Next, double-click the paintbrush tool in the Tools panel. That's going to give you the Paintbrush Tool Options dialog box. We want to make a couple of changes to this. So we're going to drag this line or this slider over to Smooth. That means you're going to have fewer points on the line. And we also want to select the Keep Selected button. That way when you finish drawing a line, it'll still be selected and you can go back in very easily and redraw it. And say OK to that. The Paintbrush Tool dialog box changes how the paintbrush tool functions. So now we're going to go to a stroke color that is medium blue. Click and hold, and there is medium blue. And we're also going to change our stroke weight to a half a point instead of a full point, which is going to make that a little bit smaller. With the paintbrush tool selected, you're going to paint 3 or 4 more paths. You can go either from left to right or right to left, but just take them under the ship again. We can do this, and you can draw back. It doesn't matter which direction you draw in. Okay? Notice that after you paint each path, the path is still selected. So if you wanted to edit it, you can go back in and you can make that adjustment. See how easily I could do that? It was very simple. Now, double-click the paint tool again, and this time deselect the keep selected because we won't be using that again. Now, deselect, well, or you can hold down your control button and click to the side, and that will deselect as well as going to select deselect. To change an option for a brush, you can also double-click the brush in the brushes panel. When you edit a brush, you also choose whether to change the artwork that the brush was already used on. We're going to change the appearance of the 50-point flat brush that we were painting with. So in the brushes panel, double-click on the icon for 50 flat, which opens the calligraphic brush options dialog box. We're going to change the name of this from 50 to 30. We're changing the angle on this to 0 degrees, and we're changing the size from 50 points to 30 points. And we're going to say OK to that. When this dialog box comes up, don't tell it to apply to strokes. Select Leave Strokes because we don't want to change the strokes we've already drawn. So now we have a smaller brush. Next, remember we changed the point size to a half a point. We're going back to a 1 point, and we want to make sure that the brush is selected, and we're going to change this to the light blue to draw a few more lines. So we're going to put about maybe 3 or 4 more lines in, and so all we need to do with that is to click. It's a pretty large line, isn't it? But if I draw flatter, because of the degree on the angle, the flatter I draw, it's going to be a less wide strip. So let me just do a few ripples. There, I like that one better. Okay, so after you're done drawing in your waves, we're going to next use the deselect, or you can click on your selection brush and click off to the side to make sure you've deselected. Next, we're going to use the brush tool or the brush panel rather, to remove a stroke. We're going to click the blue cloud with the white stroke in the sky. And at the bottom of the panel, select the Remove Brush Stroke to take that stroke off. Now let me click off so you can see there's still a line going around that cloud. To really remove this, we have to go in and we have to either tell the stroke that it has to be 0, or we have to go in and make the stroke none. Either one will clear that, and then we don't have the stroke around the cloud anymore. Remember, if you remove the brush from the stroke, it doesn't remove the stroke. It just removes the brush that was applied to it.